Hold it. You thought you could escape, didn't you? You thought all this time I had you, but you thought you would escape my gaze, didn't you? Final Fantasy XIII-2. It's time for your crimes to be known, or will you be forgiven? Find out now. Hello everyone, welcome. Yes, Final Fantasy XIII-2. I've had it since the game came out. I was able to get, as you can see, the collector's edition for the original game's price because it was bashed so hard when it came out that the collector's edition went down all the way back when it came out. Obviously, it's been quite a while since then. So obviously, as a first impressions, we have to look at the physical goods. Now, magically, I have demon souls. Man, I got lucky, didn't I? No. Okay, we're not trying to be too evil here, but you get the instructions manual inside still. I'm not sure if that's the exact same booklet you get in the normal version. And then we get a soundtrack. We have a huge, I have to give them some credit here, you get a huge soundtrack. 4 freaking discs of soundtrack on the side here. Yeah. As you can see, there's some art, and you get a miniature art booklet on the side here with just some concept art and stuff that was done. Nothing too big and huge or anything. Ooh, look. Assassin's Creed. Okay, anyway. So, physically good out. Let's get on to actually the meat of what we're talking about here. Final Fantasy XIII. So, I have to say, my first impressions of this will be very mixed. Of course, if you watched my original 13 review, you know that I, again, had mixed feelings. But in the end, I didn't ultimately think the game was bad. I just think it should have been more of a spin-off title instead of a main series entry at most, or just a completely new franchise. Because it still doesn't really partake to the core audience, you know? It doesn't deliver proper fanfare, in my opinion. It doesn't have anything to really reminisce. It just really feel like it curb-stomped a lot of shit as a main series entry. But I don't think it was an awful game. It definitely has questionable design ethics. I really found all the way to Grand Pulse that really felt like a huge tutorial area. But anyway, that's 13. We're here to talk about 13-2. Is that rhyme? No. Anyway, first thing that I want to talk about is the story. You think if you completed 13, you would think you would have a grasp on reality of this universe in 13. Well, you better throw that all out the door, because you will feel alienated as shit at the start of 13-2. I felt so alienated. Like, I knew it was going to have time travel. I mean, it was in all trailers and shit. It wasn't like some secret concept, but man, it's just so weird. It's like Halo turning into a point-and-click adventure game, you know? It's such a huge deficit from what you were expecting, you know? Everything, it's just the universe itself seems so weird now and that. I don't know, but in time, it got a little more comforting. But right at the beginning, it was really alienating. And I think if you're going to feel like that, play some more and kind of hope for the best, I guess. I feel a little more comfortable with it. It's starting to kind of feel a little normal, but there's still some gripes here and there, and we'll get to that. So, when I talk a little more about the story. But it was very alienating in the beginning. Now, combat. A lot of things have changed outside of combat. Relating to combat, you know. You no longer see monsters on the field like they did in 13. They do still appear, but it'll be empty, and they'll like randomly come out of nowhere. And during this moment, you can get a forced strike, you can get attacked immediately, or if you're trying to run for it, which you can run and avoid the battle altogether, but if you don't do that successfully, the enemy can get the forced strike on you. So the combat there is completely different from 13. There's a time clock for all those. You have a certain amount of time to get a forced strike, to get away, and all that. So that is kind of an improvement in my opinion. It adds a little more. The world also seems a little more open. There seems to be more diverse paths and such. But in a way, I'm kind of worried that it's just... I mean, I'm not far enough in the game. I've only been to 3 different time periods, so I'm not trying to say it doesn't look like they weren't trying, but so far, it still seems to be, like, it's more than what 13 did, but it's not seeming like a huge improvement quite yet. Hopefully, that will be disproven, because in the second timeline I got to, a whole new area opened up, so hopefully... as the game progresses in different time periods, will open more things and stuff. So hopefully that does open up. It's starting to show some signs of good there, but so far I haven't seen a whole lot of improvement. Oddly enough, you can jump manually now. I don't quite know why they really did that, since you can still only really jump like cliff to cliff when there was the little circular thing that was in 13. So I'm not really sure why they gave you the... I guess maybe they wanted to feel like you had more freedom, I guess. Which obviously was one of the things they were really trying to do, so I guess that does make sense, but it doesn't seem all that useful. Because the only times so far jump is needed, it's indicated by an icon, so it doesn't really feel like it's really necessary when they just made it automatic static in 13. But you still have the map, you still have the data logs stuff to get additional information on kill those enemies, society, and politics and that. And if you never played 13, the game does provide a lot of documentation, information on the main menu and some in-game about the original events of 13 if you happen to never played 13. Now, in combat, there's also more changes. While if you played 13 again, combat will be very familiar, but there are some differences. While the basic strategy of how combat works mainly, you only have 2 characters, but you do have a 3rd slot. As you progress the game, you'll be automatically given 2 monster allies. These starting monster allies, for some reason, Sarah and Lightning have the ability to tame monsters now. And it's not explained why, and Sarah also is curious why, but it hasn't been explained, and I'm sure it probably won't be for a long time. But you basically get monster allies. So how this works is you can... I don't know if there's a wheel limit, like, because many random monsters I fought can become crystals, which is how you get new monsters, and you can thus add them to your party. And they play as the 3rd member. The thing that's different between the monsters and your 2 main characters, Sarah and Null, is that the 2 human characters can be the classes they start as and enhance in new classes like in 13 did, but monsters are preset. They are always one class, and they have special techniques in that only... Some of them have special techniques only they know. Maybe their type of breed knows. So there's a few interesting things you can do, and monsters have special moves. They have like a special limit break charger, and when it charges up all the way, you can throw it out there and pull off special moves in that. So it's an interesting new form of customization with combat. I like that. It adds a Pokemon aspect. If you like that, then that's good. If you don't, then that can be bad. But on the plus side, it doesn't seem like you're really forced to... You just kind of need the classes So once you get the classes, you shouldn't need to really branch out and farm new monsters unless you really want to. I don't think it's going to be a requirement. Most monsters, from what I see, can carry out the role they are decently. The only thing that plays into power seems to be the special moves in that and little characteristics. Now, the main characters, like I said, they can branch out into new classes. The whole crystal path thing is in this game still, but it is different. In 13, there were separate paths for each single class for every character. And in 13-2, what it seems to be, and I might be a little here, because it's a first impressions, but it all seems to be one path, no matter which job you level up, and it just keeps going forward. But the thing that changes is which job you select can sometimes have, like, this one node could be, like, the Blizzard spell, but then for the Paladin class, the tanking class, it could be one of his skills, and then maybe on another class, it's none of those skills and just stat boosts. So, it seems like they simplified it and made it more interesting in a way too, because in 13 you just follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road. Now you kind of have to decide which job classes want to follow the one yellow brick road, so you can't just dump all your crystals into one single thing. But it's still very simplistic. It still goes straight so far. Monsters work a little different. They too also have a path, but you need items to involve their path, and they don't get experience points like the party members do. So those seem to drop from monsters. You can also buy them from stores. Stores are everywhere. There's this chocobo lady wearing red chocobo outfit cosplay, and she is everywhere. And she acknowledges you as time travelers. And that plays into a story aspect that I'm kind of not liking so far. But she basically sells everything so far. As far as I can see, she's the only store. Now, according to her data log, she can do all the customization and everything, but that option doesn't seem to be open yet. So I don't know if that works quite yet the same way. Accessories have another difference too. Characters have a capacity amount of a number. Basically, they have 50 at the start, and different accessories take a certain amount of points. So say 30. So 30 of the 50 is used, and you can equip the accessory that uses 20, 10. Get the idea. So I can't equip two accessories that have 30 capacity at the same time. But as you level up through your crystal path, you will get moments where you can upgrade that capacity. So you can't just throw all the best accessories on and level them up and that like you did in 13. So it adds a little more management there, unless you happen to just boost a lot in the capacity. Like I said, so far I haven't been able to upgrade anything, so I'm not quite sure if that works the same. From what it looks like, it probably does, but I don't know quite yet. I didn't get that far. And the story. The very beginning of the game is so freaking left field that you will know. There's sadly it's one of those stories that start in the middle of something. You don't know what's going on. That's how Final Fantasy 13 started. It don't work out as well here, in my opinion. A lot of people bitched about it in the original 13, but it's not like a plot concept that's never been used before, and I don't think it was bad there. Here it seems so confusing because you've had to at least spend 40 hours with these people if you completed the original 13, so it's like, why is everything it's just so alienating at the beginning. The opening and everything that happens with Sarah in the village and that, it just feels so weird, like nobody seems to be acting natural. And that's something that leads into something that does bother me really much about the story, even though I'm starting to get a little more comfortable with it. paradoxes. So time's going fucking crazy, and lightning is gone, and Sarah remembers lightning being at the end of 13, but nobody else does now. And somebody's fucking with time, and Noel, basically, Noel, N-O-L-E, I believe it's pronounced, right? Yeah. But anyway, he looks like an adult form of Sora from Kingdom Hearts, and he looks alienating in the universe himself, to be honest. He actually looks more normally dressed than everyone else in 13. And he's from the future. So, I don't know. But, he basically gets sent by Lightning. He somehow goes to Valhalla, which is where Lightning is, and she's fighting some battle. And she sends him and Moogle to Sarah's time, and to get Sarah to Valhalla. But they basically end up time traveling to everywhere imaginable. And what's happening is paradoxes are happening. Shit is shifting in and out of different times from other times. And it seems like even to an extent, different alternate worlds. Because it's starting to seem like it's evolving kind of like the Back to the Future thing, where multiple alternate lines are appearing, but instead it's not overriding it quite so. It's more like they're merging and interacting with different timelines. And really the plot is so far just up in the air. It's shit's happening, time's gone insane, and shit we've never seen before is appearing in places we shouldn't even know exist yet, and it's just everything's crazy. But I don't know. It really did feel alienating. I don't really want to like be so negative on that, but it did really feel alienating. And I'm in the third time thing, and it is starting to get a little comfortable. But I just find it weird that all these people so far know what paradoxes are, what's happening, these creatures are coming from other timelines and shit, and that we're time travelers. And it's like, how does everyone know this shit? It's like Chrono Cross syndrome, and I really like Chrono Cross, but you know something that was really annoying in Chrono Cross? Everyone just accepted your story. You're like, hi, I'm Sarge. I happen to have been thrown into a cat's body, and we're from an alternate universe, and I died in this one, I'm alive in that one, and, you know, we're like hopping between the two dimensions of our reality, and I'm recruiting people to stop the ultimate evil of our world. Will you believe me? Oh, thanks. Okay, good. Join the party. Da 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 da. Okay. But I mean, like, everyone like accepted your insane story in Chrono Cross, and it's not like I'm even explaining any of it. They just already know those paradoxes and shit. And so far, I haven't really seen an explanation why all these people actually know what's going on already. It's like, I don't know. I'm not liking the story a massive amount. Hopefully, it will get better later on. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping. But the battle system, it seems pretty good. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people shitstormed about when it came to the combat. Quick time events. Yes, they've came into the RPG realm. So, I mean, like, quick time events ain't exactly a completely new concept in RPGs, but it hasn't been so blatant. Like, technically, you could say Mother 3, Super Mario RPG, The Legend of 7 Stars, hell, the Italian Mario RPG series and that, because you do time button presses and stuff for extra damage, but the big difference, in my opinion, with that to this is, like, Legend of 7 Stars and Mother 3, it's more optional. This is more mandatory. And I guess Eternal Sonata on a 360 could be also an example of button time events in combat. But there are cinematic events that happen during combat, sometimes after combat, or before combat, or sometimes just whenever the fuck the game decides it to happen, and you have to do button shit. with the analog stick moving up, down, left, right, or any of the 4 face buttons, or so far the only buttons I've seen to appeal. And that's also how the monster's special abilities work. When you trigger them, they'll also ask for button times. They don't, I haven't failed any, but considering that I've been rewarded extra items for completing them, I'm going to assume they're not exactly mandatory. Like, I failed some of the monster ones, so obviously that's not a mandatory thing, that just gives you extra damage in that. But the cutscene stuff, it just seems to be more of a you lost out on some bonus stuff, or maybe the story changed a little possibly. But I haven't like ultimately gotten a game over, but I haven't actually failed any of the cutscene quick time events, so not quite sure there. They look alright, but they do kind of feel out of place. I mean, I also found there's only one time I've seen it actually be relevant. Like, all the other times seem to be, because you do damage and stuff when you do these events. And I hope they actually become a little more involved in combat, like rewarding you with damage. There was one particular boss fight where doing the cutscene actually did more damage and combat continued. That is a nice direction for that, in my opinion. Rewarded extra damage for doing it. So far, aside from that, all the other stuff is just fancy cutting shit. You know, it's just flashy stuff, and happens basically when shit's dying, so hopefully that becomes a lot less. You know, it doesn't feel very rewarding when it's just like, oh, well, it's dead now, we'll just finish off with some cutscene thing. Whee! But I'm sure a lot of people don't like it, period, in the first place. I can understand that too. I don't really like quick time events in RPGs. I think that's more of a action-oriented thing, or if you're going for like a Shenmue kind of thing with adventuring. I think that really does work very well for Shenmue's playstyle, which not a lot of games did. I mean, you got Indigo Prophecy in that, but... anything else to really talk about? Well, I don't think there's much else to talk about the game. Oh yeah, your Moogle companion, of course. I forgot to mention that. You get a Moogle, which are fantasy creatures in 13's lore, but now you have a real, living, breathing one that Lightning gives you, and it looks way fucking out proportionate. Like, I thought some of the tactics, not original tactics, but like the tactics advance and that Moogles were kind of weird. This thing hits that out of the park. Your Moogle companion is Sarah's weapon, and it's also used later to basically make shit appeal. Like, you'll find little shiny things that are just like, they look like they're phasing in and out, but you can't do anything. Well, when you unlock the ability, the Moogle can basically phase the shit into your universe, and you can interact with whatever it is. Aside from that, the Moogle doesn't seem to do anything else so far. Might have some more abilities, possibly. It does have some dialogue that doesn't really reveal much about what's going on quite yet. Which actually is a good question. It came from Lightning, so shouldn't it actually understand more of what the fuck's going on now I think about it? So far, on the first impressions, the game is very mixed. A lot of the combat stuff and the world being a little more open seems to be an improvement, but the story just seems to be fucking bewildering like fuck to me so far. It might get better. After all, keep in mind, this is the first impression, so, you know, until I get to the end, you know, it's a way mixed bag though. But the combat seems to be more improved and very familiar and similar to the old one, with a few ideas in that to add a little more strategy to it. But aside from that, I think that's about all I really have as a first impressions for Final Fantasy XIII-2. Do I recommend getting it? Well, these days it should be incredibly easy to get cheap. As opposed to, you know, $60. It seems interesting enough to try, but I would say only try it if you actually completed all of 13 and thought it had a little decentness to it. If you're one of those people that absolutely, unpositively, wholly hated 13 with all of your soul and passion, I don't think you probably want to try 13, because while the world's outside combat mechanics have changed a lot, inside combat is a lot the same. Well, you have the auto thing and stuff, so setting up your party has more strategy, but the actual carrying out of combat's very similar, so I'd say it's a really hard mixed bag for the people, the critics of the original 13 when it comes to that. But anyway, if you have any questions, thought, or anything you would like to share with me or ask me, please leave a comment below, and, well, we'll see what happens. So that's my first questions. I hope you thought maybe some of it interesting, and I hope this penguin here doesn't think he's going to kill me. Toodaloo.